Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Ignite the Connection Youth Advocacy and Resource event. My name is Angelique Rodriguez. I'm the Aging and Disability Resource Center for Golden Crescent Aging and Disability. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So
Yes.
we have several great speakers today. We've got Candace Paul from VISD Connections. We have Shelby Coleman from Hope of South Texas, Amanda Wendell for Pain to Purpose, Deanne Parce Novoset for Norma's House, and Belia Venezuela from Belong. And whenever you're ready, Candace, it's not.
All right, I've got it. Everybody can see my screen. Here we go. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this Ignite the Connection event so that I can talk about our VISD Connections Resource Center, just so you can get a little bit about me so you know who I am. I am Dr. Candace Pohl. I'm the VISD Connections Coordinator here in VISD. A little bit about my education background. I have a degree in psychology from SAM, and then I got my master's in administration from Lamar, and then just here in May, got my doctorate in educational leadership from SAM. This is my 17th year in education. Prior to that, I actually worked in social work. I am a previous junior high and high school principal and started out as an elementary school teacher. And this is my second year in Victoria ISD, and I'm so excited to be able to share what VISD Connections is all about. So about 2 years ago, so before I came into the district, a group of stakeholders, including our community members and parents and VISD staff, came together to take a look at how to have this district be a premier district and be innovative and decide on some action items towards building a premier school district. One of the action items included strengthening our relationships with families and our community. So the question came, how could we provide the best support and resources for our families? And what if we were able to create a one-stop shop at a convenient location for our families? And so the idea of VISD Connections was born. We just officially opened this school year. We had our grand opening on August the 4th. I know several of the organizations that are participating today were there. We are located at what used to be the Stroman Middle School campus. Our address is 3002 East North Street. The Suite J is added, but if you look up Suite J, you won't be able to find us. So if you think about the Stroman Middle School campus being across the street from the community center, that's the front of the campus. We're actually at the very back of the campus, actually closer to the Lone Tree side, north of the tennis courts. We took over the Stroman Middle School Fine Arts building. And please, I want to offer the invitation now. If you haven't already gotten to come and see the building and tour the building, we'd love for you to stop by. We'll be happy to give you a tour. Also, check out our website through VISD. There's a lot of information there. And please follow us on Facebook. I'm trying to do a great job of updating our Facebook page, so please follow it for us as well. So what kind of services are offered at VISD Connections? Well, if you think about the services that the district had embedded already that we offered our families, they were scattered throughout the district, oftentimes making it very difficult and inefficient for our families to access these services. So you can imagine this led to our families feeling confused and frustrated. So the idea was to combine all the services under one roof. So as I get started talking about the services that VISD Connections offers, many of you may be familiar with Kids Connection, and that is one of the services that is now under the umbrella of VISD Connection and housed in our new building. So all of those services that used to be held in the building across from Patty Welder Middle School are now here in this building. So to start with, let's look at we work with our highly mobile families and students, our families that are in transition. You think about our McKinney-Vento, our homeless families, our foster care families, even our military families. We have services here for them. We have an on-site food pantry, clothing closet, and hygiene closet for our families. Our pregnancy-related services for our students that are pregnant or have had children, both mothers and fathers. We have those services here. We also now house our truancy and dropout prevention. Sorry about my phone. Truancy and dropout prevention services are also housed here in the building. We continue to have our campus liaisons. Our secondary campuses have liaisons that are our voice on campuses. And then we also now have an elementary liaison, a couple of elementary liaisons that are housed here in the building that work specifically with our elementary kiddos and families. We've also added a family support and success liaison position this year. In just a minute, I'm going to show you how all of the services kind of interact and interweave with each other, but we provide advocacy for our families. We have several family educational sessions. Another slide I have will show you some of those. We also, one of the greatest things that I have found in my little over a year of being in Victoria ISD and the Victoria community is just, we have such a robust community resource, community organization system here in this community. And so between Yvonne Rossman and between myself and between Becca Garcia, who are all the three leaders in the building, and all of their knowledge about the community orgs, we have a tremendous amount of wraparound services that we can offer to our families as well in this building. The bus hasn't left yet. Part of our job is also that we work with our Title I campuses, which this year is all of our elementary campuses and all of our middle school campuses, for increasing their family engagement on their campuses. We do a tremendous amount with community partnerships. We also house our volunteers in public schools system here in our building, and provide staff development to our teachers and administrators in how to best support our families. So a variety of services that are housed here, and that is only the start of I think what we can do and get done. So I'm sure that I don't have to tell everybody on this call what the benefits of having a family resource center so that we can support our parent, school, and community collaboration is, but I did think it was important just to touch on this. So the schools reap a lot of benefits from this by just having greater teaching effectiveness and higher expectations of our students, and also just an increased ability to understand our families' views and cultures, and for them to have a greater appreciation for the time that is spent for a parent to be a volunteer. For our parents and families, the benefits of this is just simply greater knowledge of the education system and how schools work, knowledge of how to be supportive of their children. And for our parents, it can be intimidating for our parents to come on campuses. This gives them greater confidence about ways to help their children learn and have more tools in their toolbox when problems do arise. Of course, for our students, which is what we're all here for, our students end up with more positive attitudes about school. They have higher achievement and better attendance, and then higher graduation rates and enrollment rates in post-secondary education as well. And then benefits for our community include just a greater strength through our collaboration. And that is something that we're really hoping to keep strengthening and keep working towards. And then a greater impact of the services that our community can provide, because there is such a knowledge in the district about what's out there and that what comes through our connections building as well. So this is something that I've shared. It's kind of just demonstrates how our services all work together. And I want to take you on this journey. And although this journey is a visual representation of a linear journey, we all know that our families, just like our kiddos, they don't always start at point A and end right up at point E. We know that our families have a variety of needs, and our job is just to offer supports for all of those needs along the way. But just to kind of give you an idea of how all those services work together under one roof, think of a family that has been recently evicted, doesn't have anywhere to live, doesn't know what to do next. So they're in crisis mode. And so they come into our building and they need our services that we can help with for our homeless families, for the foster care, for those highly mobile pieces. And so that's where they start. What you're familiar with is Kids Connection. And we move them into our transitional support, and that's where we have mentors for our our students that are pregnant. We have our project success mentors that are out on our campuses to help continue with the kiddos and helping with the families as we start to stabilize them and hopefully get them out of their crisis mode. Usually decreased attendance, attendance problems, of course, comes along with these crisis situations. And so that's where our truancy and dropout prevention piece comes in. I spoke earlier about our family support success liaison. And then think about after you get families out of a crisis situation and you're trying to get them stabilized and you don't want them to move backwards, you want them to keep taking steps forward. So that's where this piece can come in. And this piece comes in and really can help advocate for the family, continue pushing them towards forward, making sure that they're taking the necessary steps to do what they need to do to keep moving in a positive direction. And then kind of at the end of that journey is where we come into the engagement and ownership, where we all hope our parents will end up is they're volunteering at their schools, they're coming up to the schools, they're not only engaged in their students' education, but they are owning their children's education. And that's where the volunteer piece and the parent and family engagement piece comes in. I spoke earlier about the family educational sessions, some things that we have upcoming. I know these are small. I don't know how well you can see them, but they are on our Facebook and on our website as well, these flyers. But we do have upcoming parent tech sessions. The first one we have coming up next week, as a matter of fact. So just on a variety of topics, we're offering them at a couple of different times during the day to support our various family needs. We're also going to be offering, starting next week, weekly toddler time for children that are 4 and under who are not in school. And for example, next week, our theme is bugs, bugs, bugs. And there's going to be book reading and song singing and age appropriate activities. And parents also will get information and an activity kit to take home. So that happens here at our building as well. Starting in September, we'll have monthly lunch and learns, and that is if Midcoast is on the call, they are going to be providing some educational sessions along with us here in the building to help out our families. That is a limited amount of families that can come to that, but guest speaker series on a variety of educational topics. Another thing that we're implementing is our Make, Take, and Teach, and this is really designed to support our elementary families in how can we continue the learning at home? How can we take what kiddos are learning in the classroom and really expand on that in home? And so we have Make, Take, and Teach is coming up. And for our parents that attend their first session, they actually get an entire activity bag filled with all the supplies that they might need to utilize these things. I mean, you think colors and markers and paper and all of those types of things that come along with that. So the supply bags. Our family support and success liaison will also be hosting some educational settings coming up again on a monthly basis, supporting successful families. There's a few topics on there listed to get us through the fall semester. And then we'll also be doing a fatherhood initiative that is a 10-week program designed just for fathers. We're going to get some dates on the calendar for that, but part of the reason we don't have dates is because while I could have done the fatherhood initiative, I didn't think that I thought it would be better if a male was running the fatherhood initiative. So we've finally gotten, I believe, a volunteer to host that. And so we'll be able to, it's 10 of our fathers will be able to go through a fatherhood initiative. And there's more coming, but this just gives you kind of an immediate menu of stuff. Not only that, VISD Connections, we want to also be good community partners, and it's not all about just us coming, about people coming to this building. So some events that we're going to be participating in upcoming. We have the National Night Out. We'll be at the Saturday kickoff party. We'll be there hosting a table and doing what we can do. We're going to have a community trunk or treat here in October as well. And then one of the pieces that we'll be hosting, it's virtual or in person, is a mental health family night as well, sponsored by parentguidance.org, which is one of our partners we have this year. That'll be in November with more information to come on that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that is my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I thank you so much for letting me give you that big brief overview very fast of VISD Connections.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of great information. Y'all are quite busy. I think you've got a lot going on. I love that we're seeing a lot more, you know, pantries, clothing pantries, clothing closets and food pantries, and then all this, toddler time and fatherhood assistance and support. It's very important that we're able to share this information. Thank you so much for, speaking on this, because it's something we're definitely to get the word out. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Candace Cole? If you don't think of anything right now, we're going to have another question and answer portion at the end, so don't worry. I am having issues sometimes seeing the chat, so if you ask something and I don't see it, I apologize, but you can just raise your hand and I should be able to see that. Does anyone have any questions? All right, well, thank you again.
No, thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, so our next presenter is Shelby Coleman. She's with the Hope of South Texas. Shelby, you with us?
Yes.
Oh, my, are you, I don't, it's kind of changed a little bit, Teams, but at the top, there should be like a
Little share button.
Yeah, you can share that. So whenever you're ready.
All right. Are y'all seeing this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
How do I get it in present mode? There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So I am Shelby Coleman. I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator here at Hope of South Texas. I'm also a newly fresh LPCA, just got my license number on Friday. So I'm also a clinician here. I have been with Hope of South Texas for a little over a year. I started in June of 2021, yes, as an intern, and then I was hired on in November, so a little over a year. So Hope of South Texas is, one of 70, 71, I think we lost one recently a couple months ago, but child advocacy centers here in Texas. And basically all of the child advocacy centers here in Texas, we provide kind of the same types of services. So, and I'm going to break down kind of the services, but evaluation and assessment, collaboration, kind of our MDT, and then advocacy. And kind of what the advocacy center's mission is, to not only decrease the presence of child abuse, but to make community members aware of what those symptoms look like, make parents aware of things that they should look for, but also providing, services for children and families for things that they might need, resources in the community. We provide crime victims compensation assistance. We have our rainbow room to provide resources for the kids when they come in for their interviews, our mental health services. All of these things kind of go together to help the families and children in some of the most traumatic moments of their lives. And we are a nonprofit organization, so all of our services are free for our children and families. So here at Hope, our mission is to, of course, lessen the emotional trauma of child victims in sexual, physical, and mental abuse cases, also with neglect as well. We also serve children who have been a witness to these events or witness to domestic violence situations. Most of our referrals that we do receive here at Hope of South Texas are some type of abuse or neglect situation. So here are kind of some of our services, and like I said, I'll kind of break these down a little bit further, but we have our multidisciplinary team coordination, our forensic interviewing, family advocacy, therapy services, and then our education and outreach. So how do our children receive services? To receive services here at Hope, we get our referrals from law enforcement and CPS. And most of our referrals are for children, like I said, who've been abused, either physically, sexually, neglected, or witnessed to a traumatic type of situation. We don't get to just kind of it's not really like a private practice type of a situation. We don't really get to take calls if they are just wanting therapy. They have to kind of be in the system of, CPS or law enforcement. There has to be some case there. But the good thing about our services is that once, children do come to us, they receive services from the ages of 3 to 17. So everything starts with our forensic interviews. CPS law enforcement will collaborate with our multidisciplinary team to set up a forensic interview. And what our forensic interviews are, it's a place where the child will meet with a forensic interviewer, and slowly they build up the rapport in the conversation. And the goal of the interview is to provide the child with an opportunity to tell about what has happened. The forensic interviews are very helpful because they are used in the criminal investigations in court. That's what kind of they refer back to is that forensic interview. So it's a very important start of the process, but it's only the start. And the forensic interview is very well trained. They have to go through many blocks of training, because what you're doing is you're kind of guiding this child into talking slowly about, this traumatic situation that they've gone through. You're assessing for the safety of the child. You're assessing for suicidality. Do they need any resources? And that's kind of where I'll get to our rainbow room. Do they have food in their fridge at home? Do they have clothes? That type of situation. So the forensic interview is a really important start to the process, where the child is able to tell what it is that has happened to them. Here at Hope, we have our lead forensic interviewer. She has close to 10 years of experience with forensic interviewing, and we also have a second forensic interviewer with about 3 or more years of experience. So, like I said, they have to go through about, I think, 5 blocks of training before they're completed with forensic interviewer training, and so it's a very intense process. So while the forensic interview is going on, family advocacy is also being set up. We have family advocates also here at our center. When the families come in, they are immediately assigned a family advocate, and that person will walk them through a bunch of different aspects of what the center is, services that we provide. They'll offer them the free mental health services. They'll explain, what the forensic interview is, kind of what the process for the day will be. And the family advocates are really that point of contact for the family if they are needing resources. If they're needing, help with electricity, if they're needing help with food, if they're needing help with clothing or transportation, the family advocate is really that point of contact for the family. Our family advocates also assist with SANE and court accompaniments. So sometimes we'll get calls from the hospital that there will be a SANE, which is an exam performed by a nurse, a SANE nurse, whenever there's been some type of sexual abuse or assault. And so the family advocate will go and sit with the family or sit with the child and just kind of provide that comfort for them, because it can obviously be a very, traumatic and emotional time. So like I said, our family advocates connect the families with resources, and there's just so many in our community. And here at Hope, we serve Victoria, Jackson, Goliad, and DeWitt counties. So it's very important that our family advocates are aware of what resources are in which counties. And the good thing about our family advocates is that, we don't want any children slipping through the cracks. So our family advocates stay in contact with our children and families after the forensic interview, checking in, if they would like to receive counseling services, checking in to see how they're doing, are they needing anything, just to ensure that, the children are receiving the best care possible. So after the forensic interview, after the family advocacy, we will receive the mental health referral. And so what we do, we obviously will call and schedule with the families. Whenever we meet with them, we introduce kind of what we call the trauma focused treatment that we provide. It's kind of a short-term 3 to 8 month, could be up to a year process, depending on what the child has, come to the center for. But we offer different modalities of therapy. We offer TFCBT, which is our trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. We offer CFTSI, which is a shorter term. It's more of a 5 to 8 session type of therapy. And it's more family-based. The caregiver is sitting with the child in almost every session. But the important part is that before any treatment modality is decided on, us as the clinicians, we assess the child. We do assessments to kind of see what are their trauma symptoms. Are they very high? Are they very low? Are they needing a safety plan? Are they, having suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations? We have to assess for all of that and screen for that before we begin the type of treatment. And with any treatment that we provide, the families are involved in a lot of that process, just because we know that working with trauma, the children don't stay here. They're here for maybe an hour out of the week. And so it's very important that their families have the education on what trauma looks like, what the behaviors are, and how to help. So whenever we provide our mental health services, obviously the goal is to make sure that the child feels comfortable to talk about the things that have happened to them. This is really kind of where the healing starts to begin. We try to provide, for the whole center, a very child-friendly environment where the child can, use toys if they need to, play therapy, art therapy, sand tray, or just, simple talk therapy. And really what we're doing is trying to identify their main trauma symptoms, or if they're at full-blown, PTSD. So that way we can introduce coping skills and strategies to help them, prevent going further into that diagnosis of PTSD. Something that I do like about our mental health services is that even if a child, let's say, comes in and we provide the trauma screening and assessment and their trauma symptoms are very low, we don't just say, oh, great, you have no trauma symptoms, see you later. We still provide safety and education for the clients. We have a shortened treatment that we call PRAC, which is where we're still introducing, safety. We're still introducing coping skills, but it's a shorter term thing for the child, just so that way all the children that come through our center are reached in some type of way. Currently, we have 4 trauma-trained clinicians with many years of experience working in different settings with children and families. I know one of our clinicians worked at Gulf Bend for a very long time. I used to be a teacher for a little while, and our clinical director was at Devereaux. So we've had, a lot of experience in fields of mental health and working with children. So once a month, we have our multidisciplinary team meetings with our 4 counties, like I said, Victoria, Jackson, Goliad, and DeWitt. And what this multidisciplinary team, we call it our MDT meeting. What we do in these meetings is all entities who are involved with a case come together to talk about the case and figure out if the family is, needing anything. Are they coming to services? What can we do to help this family? So CPS is there, law enforcement investigators, our SANE nurses, the district attorney's office, everyone who has any part in the case, the prosecution, the mental health. We all come together to talk about the case and what the family might need, and what we could do for them. So each Child Advocacy Center has an intake team kind of composed of the forensic interviewers, family advocates, and a multidisciplinary team director who is in charge of coordinating and setting up once-a-month meetings for each of the counties. And these are really important just because it also helps the CPS investigators and law enforcement, even the district attorney's office, understand from a different point of view. For example, me as a clinician, I can express to, the district attorney's office, hey, maybe we should have, a session where the DA is, with us in the session, so that way the child is comfortable once they're in that court setting. They're not seeing a bunch of new faces. Maybe we can set up to where the child can go to the court to see where they're going to be sitting and how everything is going to work. And they've done that before, and it's produced really amazing outcomes. So these once a month MDT meetings are really, really important to the success of the child, but also to make sure that families don't fall through the cracks. And then we have our education services, which is me. I'm kind of my own little island for education services. But what I do is I work really hard to get into the schools in the 4 counties that we serve to provide education for teachers on signs of child abuse, what to look for, what trauma might look like in the classroom. You know, a lot of times it gets mistaken for ADHD and different types of behaviors. So a big part of my job is getting into the schools, providing that education, but also providing that for parents and different community members, people who work closely with children. So that way the larger part of our communities are aware of what these signs and symptoms look like. Because a lot of times, you know, with abuse, children aren't really open about telling about that. And so sometimes it might be noticing behaviors in adults that are around us that might raise some red flags. I educate on how to report abuse on the website, just many different, you know, presentations that are very helpful regarding identification, trauma. I also provide parenting presentations. We also have a specialized program that we purchased to provide in the schools called Play It Safe, where it goes through each grade level and provides, you know, developmentally appropriate information on abuse of power and what that might look like, and, you know, safe, unsafe touches. So again, that's a really, really great program that I try and implement in the schools. We also try to work closely with universities to facilitate internship or practicums for our master's level or undergrad students, so that way they can receive hours, kind of get some experience in the field. And as education, you know, an outreach coordinator, I'm also at, you know, events like this where I'm providing information on who we are at Hope of South Texas. We like to have a presence at schools, at, you know, trunk or treat, back to school bashes, things like that, just so that way, again, the community is aware of who we are and the services that we provide. So just some more of the types of community involvement. For April, we do a lot for Child Abuse Awareness Month. I know we partnered with a lot of great organizations this past April for Child Abuse Awareness Month. We had a really great outcome. Back to school opportunities, like I said, trunk or treats, fundraising, and then booths throughout the year at community events. So something that we also have is our Rainbow Room. And what our Rainbow Room is it's where, let's say that a child comes in and for an interview, and they were just removed from the home and their foster parent is who is bringing them in. We just had this happen recently. You know, sometimes children, whenever they're removed, they don't really have much. And so what our Rainbow Room provides is a place for law enforcement, CPS to kind of go in and take items that children need or that the foster parents might need to provide for that child. So things that we have, toiletries, shampoo, deodorant, female hygiene, toothbrush, toothpaste, hairbrushes, clothing, undergarments, of course, for male and female ages 3 through 17, because that's kind of the population we serve. Luggage items, drawstring bags, large totes, duffel bags. We also look for baby items, diapers, wipes. Sometimes families come in and maybe it's only one child who's receiving an interview, but, you know, they have 3 children and, you know, they could really use the resources to help them. Something that we're going to start also seeing if we could do and kind of dabbling in is providing gas cards and food cards for families as well. So our 2 kind of big upcoming events that we have is our 8th annual Designer Purse Bingo. If you go to our Facebook, you'll see me posting a whole lot about that. It's at the Victoria Community Center on October 10th. We're currently still looking for sponsorships for tables. purse donors, silent auction items, and door prizes. And if you're interested in any of that, I'll have my email at the end of this and my phone number, but we would love to have, organizations there so that way, everyone can be represented in the community. It's a great time. It's really fun. You could win a designer purse, and we provide food, so that's always nice. And then we also have our 3rd annual Oh What Fun Christmas, and that is put on for us by Velocity Power Sports, December 3rd. Velocity is also looking for sponsorships, and at this event, there will be a lot of super fun stuff. There's a chili cook-off, bounce house, Santa will be there, so super kid-friendly. And again, if that's something that you or your organization is interested in, feel free to reach out. But these are kind of our 2 biggest fundraisers, and they're both kind of coming up. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. All the proceeds from these fundraisers go to us here at Hope to help us, purchase things that we need for the center to make it more child friendly, to help us stock up on our rainbow room and different things like that. So there's my email and my direct line. That is kind of it for me. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, but I'm so glad that I was able to be here and kind of talk a little bit about who we are.
Great, thank you so much for that. Shelby, here's some feedback, sorry. That was a lot of really great information, but helping our youth get the information, to get the support they need to such a traumatic situation is very important. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about what y'all do. And if there's any questions, and y'all don't, if anybody has any questions, you can ask now, or again, we're going to have another question and answer portion at the end. If you don't think of anything, or you can always just send me an email and I can reach out. So if nobody has any questions, go with our next presenter. So Amanda Wendell, she is with our Pain to Purpose, and she's got some great information to share with us today. Amanda, whenever you're ready, you can.
There we go. So my name is Amanda Wendell, and I started Pain to Purpose back in 2019. If you want to go ahead and just go to the next slide, it's fine. Yeah, here we are. There we go. In 2019, I became a CASA volunteer because I also have, I grew up in a history of child abuse as well, and it had significantly altered who, I guess, changed who I was, but through lots of really great therapy, like especially things that Shelby was talking about, I was able to overcome a lot of that. And so I became a CASA volunteer, wanting to be a voice for the voiceless. And with my very first case in February of 2019, when CPS showed up, they had a Suburban full of trash bags with the children's belongings in them. And as we started unloading them, I was just so crushed in my, in my thinking. I was just like, this is, like, I mean, literally like trash. And so that's where I was like, I've got to do something different, and just kind of sort of pulling people together, getting out in the community, starting to meet others. And then so we started the nonprofit. We actually got our nonprofit status in July of 2019, where we were able to start raising funds. And so we essentially we provide basic necessities, like what y'all were talking about with the rainbow room. So I definitely want to look at more of that with the ISD, and of course with Shelby, where we can maybe help to provide more of those things. But my initial thought process was to get every child that comes into care and every child that's in care, that for them to have their own luggage, their own towel set, their own toiletry bag full of toiletries that were age specific. And so last May, we did provide 300 of those sets put together, and we are still currently in the process for this year getting all that together. The numbers I'm finding are not going to be as large, just with legislation. There are not as many kids coming into care now, so the numbers are not going to be as big, and we have been talking about, you know, trying to find other avenues still to be able to help with children. And so I'm really learning a lot and listening. Like with VISD, you know, we do have children that are homeless that may come, and they, you know, they have absolutely nothing, you know, maybe kind of start collaborating and working a little bit more in that. And one of the big things too, that we, you know, we bring awareness and, you know, try to educate the community, and then also bring healing to the children in the foster care, you know, by giving them something that they can call their own, and being able to give them that dignity. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, I did mine's more all about pictures just to kind of show what we do here. So this year, and I know some of you probably got to see the blue, you know, all about the Blue Ribbon Week. It is something that we found out about and were able to put together for the first time ever in Victoria. And so, and then we also did a display down at the corner of North and Main, where we had kid cutouts made, and it represented every child in care. And then we also had some children there that were cutouts with angel wings, and those represented the children that had lost their lives in 2021. And so in bringing awareness, you know, we've been on the, you know, Caleb Shaw, we've been on, you know, KVU, and some of the different things of bringing awareness. You know, one of the deals is like the blue light. You know, I ran the blue light the whole month of April at my home, and I can't see everything just because I have a bar in front, but then, like I said, with the Blue Ribbon Week, you know, we reached out to businesses, we tried blue ribbons. And so that'll be, you know, we'll be doing that again that first full week in April. I don't have the exact dates yet. And bringing awareness that, you know, we had a big newspaper article, you know, done just trying to get that word out, because out of sight, out of mind. And it's so important to make the community aware that it is a big problem here in our county and surrounding counties as well. So you can go on to the next slide. So with our community involvement, what we do here is, you know, we do fundraising. Like we did a huge bake sale that was a huge blessing to us. We also do drop boxes all around Victoria. So if you're ever wanting a drop box or know someone that wants one, we will actually put them out in the spring. So usually February, March, and April, and maybe even into May a little bit, just giving people an opportunity to donate and to give back. And that'll actually go in the bags or go into the rainbow rooms. I did put a copy of our donation form, so we have different ways that people can donate. And another thing too is we had a couple of the schools that actually helped us. National Academy and St. Joseph did a fundraising. It was a jump roping contest, and they raised a lot of money doing that for us. And then Nazareth Academy just did a donation drive throughout the school. And I'm also part of Kiwanis. So like we set up a SAG stop when they did the run, the family run, and we were able to hand out, you know, water and bananas and whatever else that they need. And of course we get like grants. We apply for grants at different places. Like Kiwanis was one that had given us a grant. STEC is another one. We've gotten one from the Rotary Club in the past, you know, just some other places here in our community. So you can go on into the next slide. And so here, there we go. So taking all of that, this is what the end result is here. You can see all the different bags that are stacked, that they're all full. And we had a distribution day. Now we have very few pictures just for safety purposes. Obviously, whether a foster family may come in to get them, we try to go through agencies, but the families were also welcome to come in. And so, you know, this is just a couple of, you know, pictures of what we did back in May, as well as, you know, with the banner, you know, just the different sponsors and things that we had. And so in the very last slide, I have my contact information. and just, through our website, through our Facebook page, and of course, my phone number, anybody is welcome to reach out to us. So that's what we do. And if, I know I haven't heard a lot of people yet, but if you have ideas of ways that we can help, kids that are in foster care that you help with also, or you have rainbow rooms or ideas in ways that we can help in the community, I would love to hear more from you. And then we also have I don't have this on here, but there's some people that are already involved in this, but we have the Golden Crescent Children's Project, which is a collaborative of agencies and nonprofits coming together to do exactly like Dr. Pohl was talking. It would be excellent to have her there as well, because that's what we're doing. It's a community collaborative effort of a lot of people coming together to see how we can better the children for our community. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you for that. It's very important for our youth to have something structured, something that feels like it's their own. It helps a lot with mental health, and having this support means a lot, especially since we're trying to make sure that they become productive and healthy adults. So having Paint a Purpose in Hope South Texas and Rainbow Rooms and BSD Connections, I love to hear that it's growing and that we're getting more support from the communities and from agencies that's able to give more support to these kids. That's great. Thank you so much for that. Amanda, it was very insightful. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda? You don't think anything right now? You can have excuse me, a question. All right, if there's any questions right now, go to the next speaker. We have Deanne Parsley Novosad. She's with Norma's House. She is out of Gonzales. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you for having me. So I'm Deanne Novosad, and I'm the Executive Director of Norma's House. And we are the Children's Advocacy Center for Gonzales and Lavaca County. So in the Golden Crescent area for sure. And let me see.
My thing did something. Is that good?
I think I can like fast forward to my slides now.
Oh, okay.
So thank you. So can y'all see it, my slides? Okay, great. So my presentation is going to be a lot like Shelby's, because they're the Children's Advocacy Center for Victoria and some of the surrounding counties around Victoria, and we're the Children's Advocacy Center for Gonzales and Lavaca. But our mission is to promote the renewal of hope, the restoration of dignity, and the security of abused children and their families of Gonzales, Lavaca, and surrounding counties by providing a professional, compassionate, and coordinated approach to their treatment, and to serve as an advocate for all children in our communities. So we are an advocate for the children and their supportive family members in our counties, and we'll talk a little bit about what services we provide. So Norma's House has been here in Gonzales first since 1997. We were called the Gonzales Children's Advocacy Center. And then when we started providing services to other counties surrounding us, we changed our name to Gonzales Regional Children's Advocacy Center. And at some point, we changed it to doing business as Norma's House, because that is so much easier to say when we answer the phone. And Norma Ehrig was a founding member of, she was on the first board of directors when we started Norma's House. I have been here at Norma's House for 10 years. I started in 2012, and I've been the director for 3. But I was part of the formation of Norma's House back in 1997. I worked with Children's Protective Services then, and I could recognize a need for a Children's Advocacy Center in Gonzales. So, it's been kind of neat to see how this Norma's House started and has grown. When I first started at Norma's House, we had 3 staff members. We had an administrative assistant, a forensic interviewer, and the director. And now we have 6 full-time staff and 4 contract staff. So we're happy to be growing so that we can meet the needs of the kids in our family, in our communities. We have a satellite office in Hallettsville. Our main office is Gonzales, satellite in Hallettsville. And basically that means that we're in Hallettsville a couple of times a week, but not every day. But next month, we're moving to a new facility in Hallettsville. It is so awesome. It's an actual home that is big and soundproof and kind of on the edge of town. And so we are really looking forward to it and plan to have staff there full time like we have staff here in Gonzales. So we are a nonprofit agency that provides services to children who have been a victim of a crime. Usually that's some form of abuse, sexual abuse or physical abuse, or domestic violence or sex trafficking. Like our list goes on. You know, we have the ones that are priority for us, but basically if CPS or law enforcement or the prosecuting attorney's office ask us to do a forensic interview with a child, we will do it, just because we've worked really hard on our relationships with our MDT, and we just want to maintain those good working relationships. So just like Shelby said, you know, the very first law enforcement or CPS and prosecuting attorney's office will call us for a forensic interview, and that kind of gets the ball rolling to offer our other services that we have. When the families get here, we have a family advocate that meets with them right away and will maintain contact with them through the duration of the case. So sometimes that could be a long time, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. So one of the reasons that children's advocacy centers became a thing was prior to CACs. I stole this, so that's why it does not have Norma's house name in the corner, but this talks about what happened when kids originally made an outcry of abuse and there was not a children's advocacy center to go to. So for example, what used to happen when kids needed help for abuse, Robin, age 5, tells her teacher she's being hurt at home. So at school, who talks to Robin? Her teacher, her principal, a school nurse, and the nurse also examines her. The school calls the hotline and the police. The police officer talked to Robin. They may take her for medical attention. Who talks to her there? The nurse, the social worker, the doctor. Who examines Robin? A doctor. The detective accompanies her to the medical care, and they may take her to another place for specialized treatment. So she gets interviewed by all those same people again. Then CPS comes and interviews her. This says a lawyer, a counselor, etc. So by the time that Robin's done, she has talked to 15 people about her trauma. She's having to relive it every time she has to tell somebody. So then CACs were invented, and what happens is all those people who may have tried to interview Robin individually can come to the forensic interview provided by the Children's Advocacy Center. Our MDT members, who, like the investigator of law enforcement, the investigator from CPS, the prosecuting attorney's office, sometimes a medical professional, we have a same nurse on staff that provides the medical exams, and we have a full-time therapist as well as some contract therapists. So they may all be at Norma's house to observe the forensic interview when it's going on, so that they don't all have to interview this child individually. So that was the main reason CACs were invented. As y'all know, and probably know, that child abuse is like the most underreported thing in America. But even with it being the most underreported thing, a report is made every 10 seconds in the United States, which means there are more than 4 million referrals made to CPS that involves more than 4.3 million children. Last year, CPS in Texas had 157,159 investigations of suspected child abuse. That doesn't mean that's how many reports they got. because they, at statewide intake, they will try to close them out if they can, if there's no children in danger or whatever. But that just means that's how many different cases they investigated. And they confirmed the abuse or neglect of over 68,000 children in Texas. And for all those reasons I listed below. And Gonzales and Lavaca County had 435 reports of child abuse in this past year. So one of the things that CACs focus on is sexual abuse of children. It is estimated that there are over 42 million survivors of sexual abuse in the United States today. It is estimated that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. 90% of victims know, love, and trust their perpetrator. It's a family member, a teacher, a family friend, a volunteer. It's something the children are involved in. Only 10% of victims are assaulted by a stranger. And then that next statistic, it says 68% of perpetrators assault their own relatives. So what that means is 68% of perpetrators assault people that are related to them, but the other percentage, when it's people that the child knows, it may not be a relative, but it is someone they know, love, and trust. Most children do not disclose right away. Disclosure is a process. It's something that we try to get law enforcement and CPS to understand, that when a child comes in for a forensic interview, they might say just enough with what they're comfortable with. It's rare that they say it all. And statistics show that only about 15% of children will disclose immediately. About 40% will tell within 3 to 18 years. And about 45% will never disclose at all. So part of Norma's House mission is to educate the public, provide programs to children, provide programs to caregivers of children, parents, teachers, etc., to help the kids know that abuse is not okay. It's okay to tell. This is what you need to do if something's happening to you. So, but disclosure is a process. Last year, Norma's House served over 427 children. And every year our numbers grow. When I first started here 10 years ago, we served about, I think it was like 90 kids in 1 year. And now we're at 427. So, we're glad to be here for the kids that need us. We work closely with law enforcement, CPS, medical professionals, mental health professionals, and prosecuting attorneys for the safety and sake of the child. We refer them for a SANE, or we do also, our SANE nurse also is trained in the forensic medical exams. So if it was a strangulation case or a serious physical abuse case, she also provides the medical exams for these children. And our family advocate will accompany the victim if requested, and will definitely offer it. We provide therapy for victims and their siblings, whether their sibling was a victim or not, and their non-offending parent or caretaker. And we will do that lifelong. We'll provide therapy right away. They may graduate services, and then in a few years, maybe it's going to trial now and they're having a hard time. So we'll provide therapy again at that point. Even if we've provided therapy to adults who were victims as children, but something in their life is triggering something, or they're having a difficult time. And so we provide therapy to adults as well. I said we will follow the family until the case resolution, which usually means the case is dismissed or there is a court case. And what that means is we make at least monthly contact with them to see if there's anything that we can help with. Are there any resources that they're in need of? How's therapy going? This is what is happening when we discuss we discuss them in our monthly case reviews, because we do meet monthly for both counties. And, just try to keep them as informed as possible. And then we do outreach and education programs for lots of people in our 2 communities. Let's see. We've started a new project just in the last few months. We're working with the governor's office on cases of child sex trafficking and developing a plan on how to respond to CST victims. We're working with the Guadalupe Valley Family Violence Shelter, who is going to assist us in developing this plan and providing the services to trafficked victims. Families are never charged for our services. And we receive our funding from grants, donations, and fundraisers. And I heard Shelby mention this too, but we have a bingo bags and badges is what we call our fundraiser. And we do this twice a year, once in Gonzales County and once in Lavaca County. So our next one is October 21st in Hallettsville, which is Lavaca County. If anyone's interested, let me know. We have a ton of fun. We've been doing bingo bags and badges at least 10 years, at least as long as I've been here, and it's always been real successful for us. This is my staff. Just thought I'd throw that in there. And this is how you contact us. The top one is our address and phone number for our Gonzales office. The next one is our address and phone number for our Hallettsville office, our website, my email, and then, of course, if you need to report abuse, those are the ways to do that. Y'all have any questions?
Well, if y'all don't have any questions, Deanna, I want to thank you very much for giving us the information. It was very helpful. Again, support to our youth is vital. Making sure they grow to be healthy adults, and agencies and companies and programs to help.
Yeah, that's our goal. You know, we want them to recover, have dignity again, have hope in their future and in people again. So that is what we'd like to do. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this presentation today.
Thank you. And does anybody have any questions or anything they have for Ian? If not, go ahead and go to our next presenter, who is Belia Valenzuela with Belong. Belia, whenever you're ready.
I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. My name is Belia Valenzuela, and I'm the community liaison for the South. And I'll be filling in for Cynthia Ramirez, who is the respective community liaison for the East. So I also would like to call your attention to the other organizational crown jewels that are attending the meeting. And they are Melissa Loyola, who is our parent educator, Nevada King, who's our faith-based coordinator, and last but not least, Julia Braun, who's our Director of Consumer Affairs. So this morning we'll be talking about the transformation of foster care from the state to private providers such as ourselves belong. Who are we? Well, we are a division of St. Jude's Ranch for Children, and we're actually the leading provider serving 27 counties, and we are known as the South Central and Hill Country region. Our logo is situated here in the middle of the diagram here, the page. Where did we start? Well, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization who does not have any limited amount of experience. We have almost 40 years of child welfare experience. And since the inception of SJRC, we've had more than 70,000 children that have received care. We are accredited by the Council on Accreditation, and we also utilize the TBRI method, which encompasses the trust of the child in making decisions on challenges that come about at home. So in the words of Helen Keller, alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. Our mission is to offer healing and hope to the children and the families that have been affected by the abuse, the abandonment, or the neglect, with the vision of having these same children grow up to be happy, productive, and caring individuals. So what is community-based care? It's a new way of providing foster care and case management services It used to be that the state would have a one size fits all, but that doesn't work. As community liaisons, we come into the communities and have found out that each community is different with its unique needs. So each community has to wrap around their children in a different way. But there are some same basic essential needs, such as have been already discussed, meaning we still need to find food, shelter, and that's where we come in. We try to find a home for these children when that need comes, it's space that they need, that a necessity. So the key functions of the child welfare system, as I have stated, have been changed and are switching over from state to contractors. So why community-based care? Because it's going to allow us the flexibility, the innovation, and the ability to have the community collaborate so that we can improve the lives and the outcomes of the children in state care. As I stated, one size does not fit all. Some communities have many food banks and others don't have one. So each of the needs are different. So where is the South Central and Hill Country region? Well, as I stated before, the 27 counties, if you look, are by color. So the north is the yellow, the east where you live is in blue, and I'm in the neighboring gray, and the far west is in red. What's unique to us is that we have consistent communication and a great deal of keen attention to detail. We do include the community and have collaboration with many community organizations and members to provide assistance and support. Now, I spoke about Miss Melissa Loyola. She heads one of the ones who heads our PAT team, and that's the prevention department with the Parents as Teachers program. We have many resources that are free, virtual, and providing the skills and education for parents to be stronger at home in order to prevent cases coming into the CPS system. So she does a fantastic job of that. We also have the implementation of a legal department whose main focus is on the best interest and the safety of the children. Our next slide is about the timeline of events. We started up in April of 2021, launching in October of 2021. And we are going to be moving into stage 2, where we will be taking over the case management part, hopefully in the fall of 2022. This is the least favorite of my slides, as it gives us the grim truth. The South Central and Hill Country under Belong network is 520 children. Of that, solely in the east section, we have 104 children. However, 70% of those children are placed outside of their home community. So if we have a sibling group, we more than likely will have a sister placed in one area, a brother in another, and we will say that the other brother has issues that demand higher attention. He'll go to a different home. Our goal is to try to get more foster homes opened up in the area, in addition to keeping our sibling groups together. That's a family that's being torn apart, and that is not what we are after. So we are asking for any philanthropic donor to step up. If you know of anyone, please let us know. We highly recommend you call us so we can meet with them. We're also trying to motivate volunteers in many different ways. And I am very pleased to hear that there is a supply closet being incorporated in the area, because that is a need in other areas that I happen to come and serve. Another effort that we have in addition to a monthly informational meeting such as what we have here that's held on the first Saturday of the month from 10 to 11, are events that support the Fatherhood Initiative and support the mother and child. So please check our website for events, and down on the bottom here, we have where you can go to do that. And here is our contact information for Nicole Wynn, who's the regional director and oversees, amongst many things, the case management part or piece of the organization for this area. And as I mentioned, Cynthia Ramirez, the community liaison. Her contact information is here. So on behalf of those children that have been robbed of a happy childhood, I would implore you to contact us, help us get the word out, encourage those who haven't volunteered to volunteer. And anything we can do, we ask that you contact us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to allow me to answer them now. But if those questions come later, you do have the contact information for the two very strong women in your area.
Thank you so much for that, Belia. That was very informational. Cynthia and I, we talk quite a bit. We, talk about the different resources that are in our area, and if I go somewhere, she's usually already there before me. She's very involved in the community, and if I have a question that I'm unsure about, I usually bounce an idea off of her. So she's always out there. She's very strong supporter of Belong and people of our community. So, and thank you for doing what y'all do. It's very important for our communities for us to be able to get together and talk about these things to make sure that we get this out to everyone. Does anybody have any questions for Belia? If no one has any questions, this is the 1-800 number for resources. If somebody you come in contact with needs, I deal with a lot of things. Not only do I help youth, I help anybody, seniors, people with disabilities, any questions. I'm a good place to start. If I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody who does. Like I said, I network a lot with people from around the community. It's the 1-800 number that you can give to anybody. Once they call, they put in their zip code and it'll send them to the ADRC in their area. But if it's within the Golden Crescent, they're going to talk to me. Here is my direct contact information. For some reason, my extension's not on there. My extension is 212. This is my desk number and my email address. And you can go to GCRPC.org to find out more of what GCRPC does. Again, ladies, I want to thank y'all so much for being a part of this Ignite the Connection. You gave so much great information. I know that everyone appreciates what y'all do, how involved you are in with the community. Dr. Candace Pohl, I want to thank you with VIC Connections, Shelby Coleman with Hope of South Texas, Amanda Wendell with Pain to Purpose, Deanne Parsley Novosad with Norma's House, and Bella Venezuela with Belong. We thank y'all so much for doing what y'all do. It's very important to make sure that we have our youth taken care of, feel supported. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to send out the PowerPoints to everyone that was here. We're going to try to have the recording on our website. And I'm going to try to send it to y'all too. Sometimes it takes a couple days for it to go through. But if there isn't any other questions or anything else, I want to thank you all for joining us and participating. And you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, everyone.